I'm sorry?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
My boys always will.
Yeah. Are your boys fishermen?
Yeah, they're 8 and under, but yes, we're fishermen.
Oh, good.
Just locally.
Good evening. It's 7:30, Thursday, May 16th. I'm calling the regular meeting of the Clawson Zoning Board of Appeals to session. If everybody could stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Nick, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Carpenter?
Here.
Mr. Hildebrandt?
Here.
Ms. Perkins? Ms. Cindy Smith?
Here.
Ms. Diane Smith?
Here. Thank you. So in your board packet, you received the regular meeting minutes from February 15th, 2024. I'd entertain a motion on those.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the regular meeting minutes from February 15th, 2024, as listed.
Okay. I have a motion. Do I have support?
I'll support.
Okay. I have a motion and support. Nick, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Hildebrandt?
Yes.
Ms. Cindy Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Diane Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing and consideration of a request for a temporary use pursuant to City of Clawson Zoning Ordinance, Chapter 34, Article 10, Section 7.19, Temporary and Portable Building Uses, Structures, and Special Events for a location at 1129 West 14 Mile. Nick, would you like to summarize the case for us?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So in the packet for tonight's meeting, you were able to see the application submitted for this temporary use and a staff report. So I'm just going to run through the staff report quick, and then if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And then at that time, if the chair wishes to invite the applicant up, I think that'd be appropriate.
Okay.
Right, so on April 3rd, 2024, the City of Clawson received a temporary use application from Deli Fireworks Auburn LLC to use the property located at 1129 West 14 Mile, commonly known as the Clawson Center, as an outdoor fireworks tent from June 24th through July 5th, 2024. City of Clawson Zoning Ordinance, Chapter 34, Article 10, Section 7.19, Temporary and Portable Building Uses, Structures, and Special Events regulates these uses. The zoning ordinance regarding 7.19 states, the Zoning Board of Appeals may permit temporary buildings, structures, and uses for a period not to exceed 6 months, provided that all requirements and conditions are met, as are relative to the type of structure and use, the timing and arrangements for termination and removal. The Board of Appeals may require safeguards related to setbacks, screening, and off-street parking, which the board considers necessary to protect the health, safety, welfare, and comfort of inhabitants of the city. Further, the Zoning Board of Appeals may require site plan approval by the Planning Commission and performance guarantees as conditions of approval. Mobile homes, mobile or temporary offices, trucks, truck trailers, vans, or other passenger vehicles or trailers shall not be used for storage, warehousing, retail sales, service, or offices, except by approval of the Zoning Board of Appeals and subject to conditions imposed by the Zoning Board of Appeals. Moving on to the review comments. The use provided is a temporary retail use as an outdoor firework tent. This property is located in the Westgate District, and retail is a permitted use. The applicant did provide an agreement between the property owner to use the site. The location of the proposed temporary tent has been reviewed and tentatively approved by the fire marshal pending the final approval by the Zoning Board of Appeals. He's gone out to the site, looked at the application, and has identified that it meets the state requirements for distances to roads, buildings, etc. For the duration of use, Section 7.19 states that a temporary use may be permitted up to 6 months. The applicant requests temporary use from June 24th through July 5th. The application is in compliance with the ordinance. Regarding access and parking, the site operates utilizing an existing parking lot with adequate ingress and egress. There are not any concerns related to parking and access. The hours of operation have not been identified. I would recommend confirming that with the applicant. Regarding signage, there is not any signage proposed at this time. The applicant shall comply with ordinance 769 sign regulations 36-6 temporary signs. The responsible party is Swan Deli of Deli Fireworks Auburn LLC. Mr. Deli has provided the license received from the state of Michigan, and that has been included in your packet for your review. Regarding the performance guarantee, as part of the application, a deposit of $200 is submitted and has been received. Per section 7.19 of the zoning ordinance, the zoning board of appeals may require additional performance guarantees and conditions. And the final comments, the application has been provided to the Department of Public Works, Police, and Fire Department, and those departments do not have any additional comments. And as I shared, the fire marshal did already go and inspect the area, and once, if approved and this does move forward, he'll go out and inspect and make sure that they stay in compliance with the state regulations throughout the duration of their stay there. And with that, I would welcome any questions.
Do we have anything in writing regarding the signage regulations other than what the ordinance is, 769?
I can pull it up. So all signage most signage is reviewed administratively. So for temporary signage, so what they'll likely be permitted is some type of sandwich board. If they put something on their tent, it has to meet the requirements given by the ordinance per frontage along the major road. So I believe either the tent facing the road is either 20 feet wide or 40 feet wide. And so they'd be permitted 20 square feet of signage on the tent.
Is this the same applicant from last year?
So we've actually not had a fireworks tent since at least before COVID. So it's been a little bit. And so he's hoping to take that back over. The last one that I saw was 2016. It might have happened after that, but the 2016 applicant is the one I've used as an example since it's been quite some time since we've had one.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
don't remember.
recall any issues after that last one?
I do not recall any issues after that.
Because I believe the owner had required them to refill in the holes from the tent being spiked and all of that.
More than likely, I do believe the owner of that space has changed.
Okay.
And I believe Mr. Deli has a relationship with him in some capacity, but I'll let him speak on that
Okay.
when it's his time.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Nick before we open it up to the applicant?
Oh, one more quick question. Rite Aid is currently temporarily closed. Is there a tenant looking to be moving in during the time of these fireworks sales?
At this time, no.
Okay.
I don't know the exact dynamics of what's going on with the property owner there, but from what I understand, there's going to be a bit delay before someone can reoccupy that site.
Thank you.
Certainly after the 4th of July.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions before we open it up to the applicant? Okay. All right, is there somebody wishing to speak on this? On this case?
If you want me to, if you guys have any
Yeah.
questions.
Sure. If you could just approach the microphone and state your name and address.
Hi, hello, my name is Swan Deli. Address is 2824, the address for the home address or the firework tent?
Either one.
2824 Eastern Avenue, Rochester Hills, Michigan, 48307. About the hours, because I know that was a question for you guys. I thought I might have submitted my whole timing sheet. Maybe I didn't. I do have it in writing. It is 9 to 9 up until July 2nd, where it gets really busy, and would stay open until 10, and that'd be the latest would be there, the last 3 days. So 9 to 9, and then 9 to 10 the last 3 days. And the property owner has changed. It is one of my close friends, actually. But I won't be digging in. I'm using cement blocks just for that purpose. When people do hammer and stuff in the concrete, it does crack it, and you do need to fill them. That's why I'm using concrete blocks. So they just bring the blocks to the company. They put them and they anchor it to the block. And then the company comes and removes the block. So there's nothing done with the property. But that would be up to him. I didn't want to even ask him because I wouldn't want anyone taking my concrete and cracking it. I have done them last year in Rochester Hills. It went well. So that's why I'm going to a different city. And Chose Clawson because it's somewhat close to my home too. I'm not trying to go too far. And the other one is Shelby Township, which I just got approved for as well. So I'm pretty good at it. I'm just trying something new. On top of regular, I'm an electrical engineer. Any questions?
Do you have to generate your own power for the tent, or is there power on site?
So I do not have power. I will have power this year, most likely, with those, either I'm doing battery operated lights, they're like the big batteries, and you just put the lights up like the exit signs, or I might have a small generator just to run the small wattage. It doesn't have to be a generator. It could be like one of those portable ones you should charge up and they last for hours, because I mean I only need probably like 100 watts to run some lights.
Okay.
Nothing else will be running besides some LEDs, just if it gets dark at 10, which I most likely in the summer starts getting dark around 9:30. Usually I close up and go.
Okay.
So I try to leave before it gets dark. It's just that last 2 days, I don't know how Clawson's going to be. I'm hoping it's a good city for fireworks, but usually those last 2 days, 7 o'clock's a big rush, and some stragglers coming in around 9 o'clock. But once it starts getting dark out, everyone goes home and shoots their fireworks off. No one's coming, and I'm trying to get home myself to my family, so I try to shut down no matter what. That's it. Any questions?
How will the fireworks be contained for security overnight?
Overnight security. I do have overnight security, and it's required by the state of Michigan to have overnight security.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of state laws that you guys are probably not aware of. They are very strict. I have very strict laws of the state on fire extinguishers, dust pans, can't be metal. There's a whole list. I can even send it to you guys if you want, what the state requires me to have, and they're very tight. The fire marshal does come out and inspect the tent before I'm allowed to sell fireworks for signage, no smoking signs, within 300 feet signs, the proper fire extinguishers. You have to have two kind. They need a water cannon. They need a CO2 fire extinguisher. I can keep on going. It's a big list.
No, we trust in our
yeah.
fire marshal and
Yeah,
his inspection.
it's the state fire marshal, not even, yeah, it's a higher level, but I'm really close to them since last year because it was my first year, so I got very close. I like to learn all the rules, and I don't want to have, because they can fine you too. You can't open. If you do end up opening and they catch it, I mean, your fines can skyrocket and you'll be closed down for a while. Like, if you can open without the fire marshal, then they come and inspect you after the fact. You're allowed to do that. It's a checkbox when you do your application. I do not check it, because if they come and they catch anything, they fine you right on the spot. And it's like, even if you don't have the dustpan, it's like $500. If you don't have a fire extinguisher, it's $1,000. Like it climbs fast. So I will have everything secure before I open up. But yeah, everything's secured, and there's overnight security. The guy comes on at 9 o'clock and leaves in the morning. Doesn't leave or doesn't come before or after before me, basically, or if any employee is working there. But most likely to be me. Yep.
I had a question. The agreement that, the lease agreement that was submitted was unsigned. Has that been assigned now?
That's what she sent me. That was from Pilot, the property manager.
Okay.
So if the planning commission wishes, they could have one of the contingents of the motion could be to provide the signed agreement to complete
city?
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's fine. It's not a big deal at all if you need that. I'm sure if there's a tent there and no one approved it, it'd be down the next day on my property.
And I'm not familiar with the state of Michigan licensing for fireworks, but are you required to show proof of insurance as well?
Yeah, I have insurance, $10 million.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing the insurance indemnity in the lease
Yeah.
agreement.
Yep, that's required. Michigan's actually the highest of all the states. Everyone else requires a $1 million or $2 million, maybe a $5 million on one or two states. Michigan's the only one for have a $10 million policy, so that's pretty costly.
Well, fireworks are dangerous,
Correct.
but fun.
Correct. Yep. And that's for the safety, that insurance policy. It's not for, it's just for the tent and the safety of the fireworks, that policy.
Right.
Like a liability policy?
Yeah, so if something happens, like if I don't have overnight security and someone takes all my stuff, that has nothing to do with that. That's like a separate insurance. That's optional. Costs a lot more money. Hence the security.
Is the requirement for security that you have security only in the overnight hours?
Yes.
So you're kind of the responsible person? while
Only
it's
when no
open
one
and
is
functioning?
there, as long as there's someone there.
Okay.
Overnight, we're closed. Someone still has to be there. That's where the overnight security comes from.
Okay.
If I'm not there during the day, either I got to make a call to someone, a family member, to come man it, or call the security guy to come man it. But someone has to be there at all times throughout the whole time I'm there. It'll never be unmanned for safety purposes, obviously.
I guess my thought with that was only just, people don't like to be told they can't smoke, so sometimes you have people walking up smoking or something
yes.
like that.
You're
And I
right,
just want to
'cause
make sure that
I
that
had a
part
guy
is
last year
addressed.
walking up smoking. I stopped him right away, and
Yeah.
I said, "You have to back away because
Yeah.
it's my responsibility. If the fire marshal does come through and make routine visits and see somebody, that's huge fine, huge, and it's a big deal. It's fireworks. Come on, you got to be pretty safe with this stuff, as safe as you can be."
And I'm sure it's probably not the easiest thing to determine at this point, but based on the overhead shot of the parking lot, do you have an idea of where the tent's going to go at this point?
Yeah, I submitted everything. There's a square on the map where they.
It's on page 11.
Yeah.
I don't think you can see it because it got printed.
Oh.
I printed it in
Okay,
color.
yep, it's not on, okay.
Yeah, and that
I
was
see it.
per the, who said we had to put it there?
The fire marshal.
The fire
so-
marshal, because I had it somewhere else, and then he moved me, and we talked, and we had to have this much space and frontage and footage and all that, so that's the agreement between the fire marshal.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions for the applicant?
No?
I don't think so.
You all set? Okay, thank you
Oh,
very much.
Thank you. If it works out, I'll see you guys next year.
Okay.
I hope so.
Nick, do I have to open up a public hearing?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Okay, it's 7:47. I'm going to open up a public hearing. Is there anybody here wishing to speak on this case? Please state your name and your address.
I'm Jay Karvosky. I live at 923 North Selfridge Boulevard. I'm also the parade chair for the Clausen 4th of July Committee. The location of this tent is really important to us because, as you guys are all aware, we stage the parade that day, and it takes up a huge chunk of the parking lot. So I have not been told, and I don't want to interfere with this gentleman's ability to earn a living, but we want to make sure that, we can operate the parade without any interference. So the committee kind of got together and talked, and I don't understand the fire laws or any of that stuff, but in order for us to be able to operate the parade as we always have, it would either need to be almost in front of Aldi's or by the Pep Boy store, whatever it is, the auto parts store. I know Clausen's known for having 100 auto parts stores, so I don't know which one it is. Or in front of Rite Aid, because we take up the rest of the parking lot the entire morning of that parade. And certainly, did you say it was going till the 5th? Where is it proposed to be the tent stage right now? Can I?
So, yeah, you can approach.
Okay.
This was what was in our packet.
I was trying to.
Right in the middle of our staging area. Sorry. So I would, if I could, make a suggestion that we get that area, that we get that moved, or, I would certainly hate to put in a request to have it shut down by the end of July 3rd so that we're not interfered with the day of the parade.
So, and the other board members, correct me if I'm wrong, the year that we did have it, we did allow it. I think we didn't allow we didn't allow the company to open up until a certain time after the parade was over. I don't recall where it was placed, though.
I have the
remember?
meeting minutes from that.
Okay.
So I can just read that. So tent sales will be closed during the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 12 p.m. on the 4th of July, and applicant will have security staff present to secure the tent. Hours of tent sales on the 4th of July will be from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m., and applicant will have security staff present to secure the tent.
And we wouldn't be worried about him being open during as long as it, wasn't in the way of the parade at all. Is that where it's proposed is literally right in the middle of where we're sending people out.
I think that's how we made our compromise in the previous year, is if he was business was closed, it was just the tent, and then we could stage the parade around this square. Inconvenient for everyone, yes, but it still
Extremely.
could be done.
Seems like I remember the location of the tent. The last time we had it was kind of back towards this tree line, not up against the tree line on 14 Mile, but on the inner part of the parking lot there. It seems like, didn't it run horizontal along that line there?
Yeah, and you're talking about right there in the front before the sidewalk.
Yeah.
So that's where we literally line people up facing that like driveway. And when they pull out, they pull up into that area and then out and then right out into 14 Mile. So that would not be that would even be a worse area.
Have you guys talked about, changing your staging configuration, maybe wrapping around that building, the Clausen Center, and coming from the rear? Because
So-
it is, you can access from, the auto parts store that you.
That's where we have participants park that are in the parade, and I'm assuming so I've only been in charge of the parade since the year before COVID. And as you guys are probably well aware, volunteers aren't exactly beating down the door to come, volunteer for these positions, and they had a lot more volunteers back then. Now we're doing it with almost a skeleton crew. So anything that kind of would interfere with parade day operations would be, somewhat difficult to handle, considering there's only 3 to 4 of us that run the entire parade.
Does your
Thank
state,
you.
oh, sorry,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Thank you for volunteering to run the parade.
My pleasure. It's a fun day, exhausting but fun.
Yes.
Does the staging run parallel with 14 Mile, the entire shopping center?
No. When everyone's lined up literally in each of the aisles of the parking areas.
So do you have a suggestion on maybe a better place for that tent, provided that the fire marshal obviously approves?
Yeah, I'm considering that no one's at Rite Aid and it's closed. I thought maybe right in front of Rite Aid would be a good spot, because we literally, that driveway, people come in the left side of that driveway, and, he could even be open.
I can't be at Rite Aid.
Can't be at
They
Rite Aid.
have a,
Okay.
there's lease agreements with the property owner.
Can you go and speak in this meeting is recorded, so if you could go and
I
speak
tried
in.
that, by the way. I cannot be in front of Rite Aid or Aldi. I spoke with the property owner. Again, he's a really good friend of mine, and he told me from the lease agreements with the tenants in that property, Rite Aid and Aldi, I'm not allowed to be in front of, because they technically, I think their lease, maybe they own that, not own it, but lease that part of the parking lot for their business. As far as the rest of it, they just lease out their buildings, but not the parking lot. That's the owners. That's what I was told. Because I tried to move. She told me, the property manager, when I spoke to her, she said, you can't be in these 2 spots. And then anywhere else is free game. And then when I put wherever I wanted, the fire marshal said, okay, no, you got to be here, and move me around. And that's why we came up with that spot.
Okay.
So this is a question for both of you guys. So if you were to move more west, or I'm sorry, more eastbound, how far could he move?
As close to Aldi as possible. And, we take, as you guys have probably saw, we take up that entire parking lot that morning.
So I think I am there.
Madam Chair, so there's 4 columns of parking. So the one provided in the packet, the location is in that 4th column. If you move it to the 5th column, so 1 column to the east, that's the farthest you can get to that Aldi parking lot. And it may actually be a better location because it would be next to an island where it's not taking up a few more parking spots, if that's what could potentially work.
Okay.
What would the fire marshal have to say
That was my
about
question.
it?
That was my question.
It would still meet the distance requirements from the road and the other right-of-way. The island, I can't imagine, wouldn't be a problem. It's not a structure or a building, and that's what the code calls for. And so if that's the path that the board wanted to go, the approval could be contingent on final, locational approval by the fire marshal.
Can I see the
Yeah, you can approach.
I think I know what he's talking about.
He's talking about moving it here, so then
Oh.
it'll be butting up to that island.
What was there originally? I wonder why he put me here. I want it to be here.
Yeah, you're quite a bit away from Aldi, actually. I mean, there's,
I could go here.
I mean, I'm gonna leave it, I'd leave it up to you guys to, if we have to compromise and put them somewhere, that's still gonna be in the way. And we're anticipating, higher than normal, volume of participants this year because of being an election year. So there's probably gonna be quite a few politicians, and even though we're gonna try to limit them, we really can't.
Yeah.
We can't tell them they can't, so, we're not gonna reach out to them like we used to, because there's gonna be a lot. So, yeah, but I guess if we need to compromise, I would leave it up to you guys to just, come up with that. But it is going, and again, I'm not trying to be rude to you or your ability to earn money, but it is going to be in the way. So then my next recommendation would be to close it down at the end of July 3rd, so it's not in the way at all. Because again, we are running this with a skeleton crew, and if we got to start curving people around that, that's going to, we're going to have to dedicate one person to go over there to make sure people line up, so that when we tell them it's time to go, there's not a bunch of confusion. We've got, lines all, in the wrong direction, and, whatever
How many
else.
floats do you have estimated in the parade or
Enough to fill the entire
individual
parking lot.
events?
I don't know the exact number. I apologize.
I mean, there's 10 more rows of parking before you get to the Aldi, the street, or that. the
And again, we do
road
use them
goes-
all.
So, I mean, but looking for a compromise here.
Sure.
There,
My suggestion would be is perhaps go back to the party or the parade planning in 2016 and see how they set it up around the tent and maybe mimic something.
That is going to require getting a hold of somebody that is impossible to get a hold of that used to run the parade, without naming names. And this individual is literally impossible to get a hold of.
Nick, do we have any notes or various drafts that the fire marshal went through to come up with this final destination?
I believe the first one, it was just located a few feet closer to 14 Mile. It still had the proper distances from all the buildings and driveways. So, I mean, it's not very different, the final proposal compared to what it is now.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Are there any other comments or questions for the,
I think a compromise can be reached. I think we have to work within the guidelines that the fire marshal sets forth. But I think, for us to say, that it can't be done, I don't think is the right decision. I think working together on this and trying to do the best that we can is, the best course of action for this board. I think there's a compromise that can be reached here. I think moving the location of the tent perhaps to the east, as we had mentioned, isn't a bad compromise. If we could figure something out with the hours on the day of the 4th of July, that might be something worth exploring as well. But I certainly don't think shutting it down on July 3rd is the right option to take.
I would agree. Is there, we're still in a public hearing. Is there anybody else wishing to speak on this case? Okay, it's 7:59. I'm going to close the public hearing.
so just for clarification, so when you say the entire parking lot, I mean, are you talking? I watch the parade every year from like right across the street, so and I can't even remember. But
People are like crowded
Literally
in here,
all the way
like,
to Aldi's.
Road to road to road to road
From
to road,
from where
like a
people are
snake.
pulling into Aldi's to all the way to the west, except for that first area, that first line of parking spaces that's just to the east of Rite Aid, and we keep that open for people that, are handicapped, that are in the parade. There's a lot of veterans that come, so we let them all park there. All of us that are working on the parade that day park in that spot as well. But then every other aisle of parking spaces all the way up to the roadway where people pull into Aldi is completely full of participants. And then we even have to throw overflow, like we get the Jeeps a lot of years and we throw them right in front of, we let them go last and park them all in front of the auto parts store over there. So it is, when I say full, I mean full.
So essentially, you need, it's a 40 by 20 space that he's taking up, so that's,
10 spots.
yeah, 10 spot, well, plus
Five
anchoring.
Back to back.
Right, plus anchoring, so, let's call it 10 for just,
Yeah, because the blocks
So-
we're using, they're not anchoring far.
I mean-
They're very close.
I have, I find it hard to believe that we can't find 10 spots somewhere in a slightly different location, though. I mean,
I can only speak to my experience having run the parade, the years that I have, and let you know the way it goes out and,
Well,
you know.
in
it's-
previous years, the parade, the Rite Aid was open, correct?
Yes.
This year it is not. So all of the parking in front of Rite Aid could also house floats, participants and such. So the people that would be in this proposed tent area could somehow be snaked across that way. I'm not a logistics major,
Sure.
but I'm just thinking we could maybe work with that extra space over here.
I mean, we can definitely make it work. Again, we're working with very limited resources and, it's a big effort to pull this thing off with the few people that we do
So what
have.
we're working with right now is a tentative approval for the fire marshal. He's already done his due diligence, or she's done their due diligence, and
We're talking about Mr. Engel?
No, the zoning board of appeals has the final approval. Mr. Ruthenbeck just tentatively approved it based on the location and the fire requirements. So any approval comes from this board and our fire
so
marshal.
if our zoning board came back and said, we're approving it subject to moving it somewhere else, the fire marshal will approve it? Is that a legitimate approval?
It would be to,
I have to look at what's been provided and what's been presented. I can't go willy-nilly changing it.
right, so the motion would be to have him ensure that that location is acceptable, and then if it's not, it would go back to this proposed location. If that's the way the motion was stated.
Okay.
but we don't even have an alternate location right now. I mean,
So if you do go east one over to that other island area, that would be approved because as long as I'm going east and staying that far away from 14 Mile, that's okay with the fire marshal. That's what does. He told me 120 or 125 feet from 14 Mile, which that's where it is. And then I can go one more over west, but that's the furthest, I believe. But I can go east. He doesn't mind it, but I can't get into the Aldi parking lot because of the lease agreements with the landlord and the tenants. But I could go one over if that's what you guys proposed. And the fire marshal would still be within his constraints.
I mean, at least you'd be in front of the island, that little island there on the right hand, or. you'd be
Is
right
your
in front.
tent open for sales all four sides? Or are you closing two off?
I close one off. It's open, but you can't come in because there's a wall of fireworks. So,
So
you
that wall
cannot.
could be where this island tentatively is.
The wall is going to be on the longer side. The
40-foot
Yeah, the
side.
40-foot side,
Okay.
just because of exits from the state fire marshal and how I have to have it to put fireworks in there. I try to make it as easily getting in and out accessible. So I have 3 exits, but really, for my 10th way I make it, you can almost leave any which way. I don't block any way. A lot of people will make an aisleway so you can come in, there's 2 exits, and you have to go see everything and pay at the end. I don't make it like that because if there's an emergency, I want people to go out any which way they can. So I have more than 3 exits. But there is a wall. You can't come in from one side, but it's either, depending on where I want to put it, it's either going to be on the east side or the west side, but not north and south. That's the short ends. So because I'm between 2 spots. Those spots are about 10 feet per se each. That's where I get the 20 feet. And then the 40 is extended over the 5 spots.
So what I'm understanding is if we're proposing to move it over east one section of parking, your short side of your tent will be closed then. You will only have 2 open sides because there will be landscaping and flowers and bushes.
Oh,
And people will
technically-
trample on them.
Technically, yeah. If I put it up against, I was going to put it between the 2
But then will you meet your measurement from 14 Mile?
So, can I come up and look at it really quick?
Sure.
Oh, I see what you're saying. There is a, oh, sorry, backwards. Ah, I see what you're saying.
So then that just messes with your entire, yeah.
Yeah, so I would be, no one can come here, yes. And I can't go up because that's the,
Which is
That's the-
probably why the fire marshal placed it in that section, so people have egress to escape.
technically this, at Rochester Hills, I did have a landscaping there too, and there was still an exit, because you can still run out of there. And so put it this way, I have say I'm in the tent right now, I have one long way, the 40-foot way, and exit there and exit there. This side, there was a landscape, just like this, kind of rocks and everything at the end of the tent. But you could still walk right over and leave, kind of like this too. It's still considered an exit because you can exit the tent that way. I'm not blocking it with a shell of fireworks. As long as it's not blocked, it's considered an exit for the state fire marshal. So if I did move it over here, I don't see that being an issue. That's okay with me. And then I'll have a wall here or a wall here on either side where you won't be able to come in. So you will be coming in from two sides, but this is still considered an exit because it'll be open area. So I could
Yeah.
technically do it, yes.
But it's one less parking spot during the time of the parade.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. There's,
So
yes.
if we're,
If we could have the, go to them.
Yeah, if you, the further comments you need to make at the
Okay.
microphone,
Sure.
please.
Any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Okay.
Again, I don't want to do anything with the parade. I don't really know too much about it. I'm not sure if they're in context also with the landowner and what they're doing with the property and what they're leasing out for parking spaces. I don't know. With the city and with the landowner putting the parade on that property, I can call him. I could probably call him now and get his advice on what's going on in the parade and what they actually leased out and have a contract with them. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I
Yeah.
think it's
Do you
just
know anything?
traditionally always been staged there.
I don't think
Yeah.
there's any agreement at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean,
With regard to the parade, and I'm sorry, sir, but I forgot what your first name was.
Jay,
Jay, I've been to the parade since I've lived in Clawson for over 20 years now, but I'm having a problem for some reason remembering the morning of the parade. Are you utilizing all three entrances along 14 Mile for
no.
vehicles, floats, and whatnot to get into the parking lot?
we are utilizing the middle entrance and the one, and that's to let the parade participants out onto
Out,
14
yep.
Mile, and then people come in where the Rite Aid entrance was. That's
Okay.
where we check them in and we tell them what row they're gonna be in and all that good stuff.
Now, do you block off the other entrance,
We
the
do.
Aldi entrance?
Yes.
For the short term of the parade?
We do. We also block off the entrance onto Crooks that is next to Taco Bell as well.
Okay, all right. Is there any, that you've experienced at this point, is there any pushback that you've received from Aldi if you have to go east with the setup of the parade, since it's just for that short period of time? I mean, yes, Rite Aid is closed, and that's great, and we can utilize that as overflow for, the setup, but have you experienced any issues from Aldi just for that short-term setup of the parade and moving forward?
None. All the businesses have been very cooperative.
Okay, all right. I think moving it over, I think if the location of the tent, perhaps if there's, the way I'm looking at it, if there's up against the little island there, there's like two parking spots right there up against it. I mean, if the position of that tent could be moved to where those two parking spots back to back are left open, that leaves, in my mind at least, and I'm not a fire marshal, a sufficient area of opening for people to get out of the tent, and I don't think that would be an issue. I think that's probably gonna be the easiest compromise location that we could set and still be, feasible for everybody.
Well, may I see the location here just for, because
Sure.
it might not even make any sense to move them at all, if that's gonna be the case. If it's in the way,
Can
it's in the way.
you just go make your
just step back to
comments in the microphone.
If you don't mind.
Yep, I was just saying that it might not make any sense to even move them at all, because if you're gonna move them and he's still in the way, why move him? You know what I mean? So let's maybe skip that step. So which area, we're talking about one over? Yeah, that's still in the way. So you might as well just leave him there.
It actually would hurt more too, because you're gonna sacrifice 2 more spots. Well, if it's, you know, if you're not gonna go right up against that island.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
hurt me
Yeah.
to go over,
Yeah.
but I'm willing to do it. If I move
Yeah,
over.
And it's
I think
it's
where at is
pointless.
Better.
It definitely hurt, especially if people, tripping, if they come through that island, if they do wanna walk through there, I'm not gonna stop, like, anyone saying, oh, you can't come through there, I have an exit there, if they trip over the curb. I saw that, but again, I wanna compromise, so I would do it.
I mean, maybe moving it back 1 or 2
Pointless.
would probably, well, it might help flow, because you're not gonna drive through the island. The line is not gonna drive through those
Oh,
islands.
you're saying move it back this way.
Yeah, because you're not gonna drive this way, right? So the flow in the front would actually, would increase. But, I mean, I'm just trying to
You're-
come to a compromise.
Again,
Yeah.
when the state fire
Trying to
marshal
suggest.
comes out there, he might make me put a cone or 2 on the outside of those corners too, for what you're saying, so people don't do what you're saying, like try to drive through the area or something. That's up to the state fire marshal, if he requires cones or not, it's up to him. Each area will require something else, depending on the guy that shows up and what kind of day he's having.
And I'm gonna say this, but I'm sure it's an assumption that everybody is making here. The fireworks that will be sold are the ones that are approved by the state of Michigan, correct?
Thank you.
Correct, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, you're only allowed to sell a certain type of fireworks. If you do get a special license, which I do not, you can actually have professional fireworks for like displays, but that's not me.
Okay.
Yes.
Just want to make sure.
Of course, that's how I obtained the license from Michigan. You're only allowed to purchase certain type of fireworks.
Okay.
Yeah. Good question.
I have a question for Nick. I saw the bond on here was $200. Is that similar to what was charged back in 2016? I thought it was a bit higher than that.
So that deposit was on the fee schedule and part of the application that we used. It does appear that in 2016, there was a cleanup bond of $2,000 provided and submitted to the city,
Okay.
which is, of course, if the site's left in clean condition, is returned back to the applicant once they clear the site.
Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was thinking, is there like a vacate inspection when he does leave? Does somebody come by and make sure that everything is cleaned up?
The city certainly will, and I imagine the state fire marshal does that as well, but I can't say that with any bit of confidence.
The state also requires me to have a $5,000 bond on that location too. So I do have a separate bond other than your bond for $5,000 on top of that surety bond that the state requires for that location too. So just to add to that bond.
What is that bond used for?
Honestly, I don't know. They make me get a surety bond, and it might be for like cleanup or anything like that, because they require me per location to get a $5,000 bond, or they will not give me a license. I have to look and see what it's for, because even when I ask them, when I call the state and I talk to the firework department, they're even trying to get rid of it because they don't even know why they do it anymore, because they never use it. But I'm thinking it's for cleanup, or if anything goes wrong, the state. But it goes to the state, so for cleanup or anything like that. That's
Okay.
what I think it's for.
Okay.
Yep.
Excuse me, do you know when the property changed hands?
I think he bought it, I want to say, about 3 years ago.
Okay, so there's no
Maybe
parade
4
since
years
then.
ago.
Okay.
But I remember he was really excited, and they worked with the city
It
on
was in
obtaining.
2021.
Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes.
So, yep, 3 years ago. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah. Are there any other comments or discussion?
don't think anything from me.
Okay. Well, I do think another compromise is to have them open later on July 4th. I would imagine July 3rd and 4th are probably his biggest days.
4th is my busiest day. Like,
Can you please approach the-
Okay, sorry. So, almost, I don't want to say almost no one, but between the 24th or 25th, whatever I'm opening up until like the 1st, probably 10 people walk in. I'm just there so people know that there's a tent there. If you guys buy fireworks, you know everyone gets them on the day before or the day of. It's just what we do. I did it too. I always did it on the day of. Come on, kids, we're going to go to the fireworks shop. But the 4th is where the magic happens. If I'm not open on the 4th, I probably won't see you guys next year, depending on how well it does on the 3rd. But yeah, the 3rd and the 4th is really where either I make it or I lose.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but that couple of hours, it's fine. If it's from like 9 to 10, 9 to 12, but I don't see it being a problem if I'm there open. I don't know if anyone's going to buy anything. It's the parade's going on. People are doing it, but you never know. It might be a good profit for me. People are going to stock up. Oh, we're at the parade. Why not get some fireworks before we go home? We're already here. I don't know. I can have more staff if you guys want me to make sure the flow is better. Because I don't want to be bombarded with a bunch of people, right? If there's 2-3 people in there, that's going to be hectic. But yeah, I can have more staff there definitely on that day, and if I can also make a call on the day, hey, you know what, this is too hectic. Let's close up. Just tell people we're not selling, or if they can handle it, they can handle it. But yeah, the 4th is definitely by far my busiest day.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think the parade pretty much clears out at 10 o'clock, is that?
Roughly, yes.
Yeah, so,
10 a.m.
yeah, so, the firecracker mile's like, what, 8 o'clock-ish? Yeah, so,
I think the firecracker mile's at 9, and then the parade starts immediately after that.
Correct.
okay, yeah, so,
Mm-hmm.
10:30 maybe? Everyone gets out of there?
So I'll have staff there, but I won't allow them to sell. Is that okay? I'll just tell them, wait till after the parade and come back. Because if there's people there and 10 o'clock gets people start leaving, I want to be able to sell. So, but I won't do anything until 10:30 if that's okay with you guys. I don't mind. I don't mind at all. But then I just have to juggle it with the security guard, with him he leaves, if I'm going to have staff. Because I'm trying to have a schedule. I don't want to say, okay, on this day you come this time, on this day you leave this time. But yeah, but I don't mind that at all. I can have staff there, they just won't sell until 10 or 10:30, whatever you guys are okay with. And they'll just tell people we can't open during the parade. After the parade, we can sell. Or
So
maybe
you
I'll just.
originally said 9 to 10 the last 3 days. So
Yes.
if we said 10:30 to 10 on 4th of July, you
Yeah.
would be okay with
Yeah,
that?
I'd be okay with it. Someone would be there though. The doors would be open, but they just can't purchase anything. Or it depends. I might just say, you know what, just keep the tent closed up, and I'll call the security company and say, just stay over there for another hour and a half. That's okay with me.
It is pretty, my kids have been in the parade before, and it is very hectic in
Yeah.
that parking lot.
Yes.
So,
And because the parking lot's going to be occupied by the parade, I can't imagine anyone's going to be trying to get in there
no.
to
That-
purchase
that's what I'm saying. They're
fireworks.
probably not. But if they're going home at the end of the parade, I
Yeah.
can see people saying, "Oh, let's get some stuff before we go home." I would do it if I was at the
definitely,
parade with my family. Like, hey, you know what? There's a tent right there. Let's hop in and get out of there when the parade's ending. If it ends at, I'd like to do it like a half hour, 15 minutes before it ends. Does it end at 10:30?
People are out of the parking lot roughly about 10:30.
Okay, that's okay.
Because that's the starting point of the parade as it meanders through the town, then it ends somewhere else.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So you'll have people sitting there watching the parade at the beginning.
Yes.
Those people will come in and want to shop at your
Correct.
center. And then
10:30
people
is-
at the end
yeah.
will meander over as
Yeah.
well.
10:30 is not a problem. You guys want me to open 10:30? I'll open 10:30.
Okay.
I don't know, you know, I want to do this. I want to see what happens here. It's the only location of all of Boston that allows a tent to be there because of the parking. And I just got lucky. It happened to my friend that just bought it 3 years ago because when he told me there's only one location in Boston, I'm like, I'm like, where is it? He said, there. I'm like, oh, yes. So, yeah, I would like to do some business there, and I don't know what's going to happen, because Clausen, you know, just, I've been through here. My wife's worked here. The doctor's office down the street is a good buddy of mine, the foot doctor. So I'm not sure what's going to happen, you know. It's a mix of people in Clausen. There's,
You clearly haven't been here for 4th of July.
yes.
I'm gonna retire after this.
Yeah, you might. Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, any comments? Just entertain a motion then?
May I snap a photograph of where that's proposed to be put? And then I guess if it's just gonna be there, I just make a recommendation, we not move it. Then this way I can just start to, you know, try to plan around it the best I can.
The map is publicly available, and I can touch base with you after. I just don't know about the pictures during the public
Okay,
meeting. so-
okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
No problem. We can talk after the meeting.
Madam Chair, I'd like to propose a motion to approve the request for a temporary use pursuant to the zoning ordinance, Chapter 34, Article X, Section 7.19, temporary and portable building uses, structures, and special events for a location at 1129 West 14 Mile. And this is based on the recommendations as listed in our package, that the use is allowed to operate from June 24th, 2024 through July 5th, 2024. The hours of operation will be from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m., with the exception of the last 3 days, which will be 9 a.m. until 9 p.m., with the exception of 4th of July, which will be at 10:30 a.m. and will close at 10:30 p.m. And this will be to accommodate the parade setup traffic. This,
Cindy, I think you misspoke and said the last 3 days should be 9 to 10.
Correct.
Correct?
yes,
Okay.
that's what you wanted,
Yes,
correct? Yes. So that would make it July 3rd and July 5th from 9 to 10, and then July 4th from 10:30 until 10.
Okay, I misspoke. When I meant the last 3 days, I don't include the 5th. That's kind of my clean up and go home. The 1st to the 4th is the last 3 days. The 5th is just shutting down and leaving. That's why I'm
Okay.
open that day, yeah. So July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 9 to 10. And on the 4th, we'll do the 10 to 10, or what was it?
10:30 a.m. until 10 p.m.?
Yes, correct.
And then no business will be done on July 5th?
There will, maybe in the morning for a couple of few hours, so like half off, and then I'm out of there by like 3 o'clock. I'm done, yeah.
Now,
That's right.
you said there's a company that's setting up your tent?
Yes.
When will they be coming to clean up?
They come the 5th. They'll be there the 5th.
Okay.
Yep. That's on. I can tell them to make sure they're on the 5th, because it's the company. They might come the 6th, and just depending on the day, how late in the day, when I close out, depending if I'm busy or not, probably not on the 5th. I tend to want to go home. It's 10 days of a lot of work, 12 hours a day. So I try to leave at 3 o'clock and get a truck and load everything if there's anything left over, and then I call the tent company and say, it's all yours, ready to go. So either they'll come up that same day, but if it's after like 3, 4 o'clock, they might just wait till the morning.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's a Friday. So as a board, how do we want to list the date for cleanup to be? Do we want to extend it out to the 9th, or do we just want to let it fall upon the city to? Because I think in the past, we've had a cleanup day by X date, and that's usually 2 weeks after the fact. But that was with the cement post and things like that.
Nick, do you have a comment on that?
I think we'd be able to, if everything's done by July 5th, we can accommodate that and make sure we go and inspect the site.
The tent might, depending on the company, because I can't tell them, hey, come get your tent right now. They
Precisely.
might-
And
yeah,
I
they-
don't
they
want
might
them to
have-
lose a
it's gradu-
$2,000
yeah.
bond if a tent van didn't show up on
It's
time.
graduation time. These 10 people, it's really hard to get a tent, so they might be like, oh, you know what, we have 10 graduations today, we gotta pick up, that one could stay there for another day. I don't know, it's them, it's not my tent. I wish it was.
The board wanted to make it the 8th, I think that would be,
That would be,
Fair.
is that Monday?
Yeah,
Yes.
July
Okay.
8th.
Okay.
So let's revise the uses allowed to operate from June 24th through July 4th, 2024, and then cleanup will be done by July 8th, 2024.
okay. And that's your, part of your modified motion?
Yes.
Okay.
So on the 5th, there might be some sales until like 2 o'clock.
Okay, so then let's leave it as listed. The use is allowed to operate from June 24th through July 5th, 2024, at ending at 10 p.m. Cleanup to be by Monday, July 8th.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry for all the.
You're welcome. And this is also subject to the inspection and approval from the fire marshal. There was much talk about moving the location, but we have agreed to leave it as it's listed in our package. But we will defer to the fire marshal and his approval if he finds that he needs to approve it. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Okay. Any signage shall comply with ordinance 769, sign regulations 36-6, temporary signs. The premises shall be left in a broom clean condition with no evidence of the temporary use remaining after the allowed period, including but not limited to the removal in any and all signage, and which was listed as Monday, July 8th. The noncompliance with any of these conditions of approval will provide the city police department with the authority to immediately shut down the operation of any sales from the space until such time that the noncompliance issues are addressed. And then I also want to add that we would like the applicant to provide a fully executed signed lease agreement between AWA Investment LLC and the Delhi Fireworks Company. Any revisions, additions?
Did you recommend an additional bond above the $200 payment?
Oh, no, we can do that as well.
Okay.
Attached to the premises shall be left in the broom clean conditions. How much bond would we?
Well, Nick said in 2016, we approved one with a $2,000 bond. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But that was a more intense tent. I don't know that we would need to have that much of a, I'm just thinking out loud, I don't know. Thoughts, Greg?
I think that with, at that time, the potential damage to the parking lot, it was necessary. If the tent is going to be different and anchored down with cement blocks, I don't know as that large of a bond is necessary this time. I think that it would be something that if you, or we as a board chose to, add to or increase, I don't think it needs to go to $2,000. That's my opinion.
I would agree with that.
Is there a deposit or a security deposit within your agreement with the landlord?
No, none of my Shelby, Rochester Hills, or nothing. No bonds for the cities. This is the only city that required a bond. Because it's the property of the. It's the
Can you
property.
go up and
Yeah,
speak, please?
that's why I'm asking if
It's
there's.
the property owner. If something happens, the property owner is going to be.
That's
you
why
know,
I'm
he's
asking
gonna
if
be
there's one.
messed up my
Yeah.
property. Come pay me, or give me X amount of dollars, or whatever it is when I do a contract with them. But I told them everything that's going to happen in the 10. They asked me, "Are you staking it or you have cement blocks?" Cement blocks. Okay. One guy said, "You can stake all you want. I have asphalt. Just go fill them with plugs," and that's what I did. You just go buy them at Lowe's and you just squeeze it in there and it fills it. It's tar. But no city's asking me for a bond because I don't know. It's what if it's not cleaned up, you guys get money, but it's the property of the. Do you guys repair it, or does the owner still have to repair it? I don't know. That's why I'm confused about the bond.
What I'm
like, in
asking is
general.
if you have a security deposit with the landlord of the property, so
No.
that would supersede some, it would make it,
Yeah.
necessary for
No
us to
security
collect
deposit.
a bond.
It looks like it's $500.
Oh, that's just That's for they want $500 before I open, and then before I open, the rest of the money. That has nothing to do with.
Oh, that's the lease payment.
That's the
okay.
lease, yeah.
Okay.
There's no,
Okay.
yeah, it's just the lease. They just want the lease before I open. That's it.
But it would be covered in the maintenance, so leave it as you found it type deal.
Correct. Same thing for the other cities. It's just between me and the landlord. If you
Okay.
will. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so the city would probably, the extent of the city's obligation would be to make sure it's clean. And if it wasn't in excess and the landlord didn't, address it, then we'd have to send DPW out there.
Incorrect, and if it was another commercial business that just had, let's say, a major pothole there, we don't have a bond to repair theirs, we would just send them a letter to have them fix the parking lot, to the property owner. And so I imagine that's what we would do in this case if there was little holes left in the ground or debris, that's how we would probably execute it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's private property, so.
Correct.
So do you think an additional bond would be necessary with this request?
That is up to the zoning board of appeals.
I personally don't think so, being that it's private property and we already have a $200 bond, which should cover in the event, somebody has to put a broom to a certain spot.
I would agree.
What do you think?
I would agree. I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, so then when I went back and I said we were gonna add an additional bond, let's strike that from the record.
Okay. Are there any other, so we have a motion. Are there any other additions to her motion or revisions?
No, I think it sounds great. I would support the motion.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and support. Nick, could you please call the roll?
Miss Diane Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mr. Hildebrandt,
Yes.
Miss Cindy Smith.
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is any other business? Is there anything before the board?
We do not have any other business.
Okay. All right, staff report and training opportunities?
There was a staff report included in the packet this evening with an
Okay.
update on the variances that this board has approved over the last roughly year and a half. And so some of these variances have started to get closed out, and all permits have been applied for. Our inspector is inspecting them as needed and using the approval by the ZBA as a guideline to make sure that the approval is compliant with the conditions by the board. If there's not any questions, I guess that's all I have tonight.
Thank you
Okay.
for the updates, I like them.
Yes, thank
And then,
you.
if I may, so there's clearly a couple that are closed out. What I was going to do is once they're approved and then showed to you for one meeting, I'll probably remove it. That way you don't have in 2 years a list of 100 variances if that's how many came in. So just to clean it up,
Okay,
unless you, the body wanted to see more of those, but I'm open to feedback.
yeah, I'm okay deleting them after they've been closed out.
Yeah, if they're closed, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other business? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay. Can I get support?
Support.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing your business to Clausen,
Good luck.
and good
Yeah.
luck.
I think it will.
It'll be fine.
We hope so also.
Yeah, it's our little claim to fame almost, as our 4th of July.
It is.
I just don't want
gonna
an
have this
issue. I don't
circle.
want an issue, you know?
You want
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
You want it.
It's-
We're just serpentine around it.
Yeah.
There's been growing up, I remember there's been always a tent there until recently.
Yeah.
So